Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Roswell, New Mexico. A lot of interesting things we learn. It is interesting, though. It was never really explained how he did it. Obviously, they put Noah in a pod, but he was able to kind of get out. I guess it's because he had already kind of found a way out of a pod before. I guess because we ended up finding out, like, the pod he was in all those years ago, back in 47, it was so defunct that he was conscious the entire time. You're supposed to be, like, in a state of, like, time completely stops for you. At least that's what happened for Isabel, but it didn't happen for Noah. Time stopped, but he was in a state of being aware the entire time. All those decades he was there. It's enough to kind of drive you insane, being aware and knowing that you're trapped and kind of being stuck with yourself like for so long. It's the most extreme form of solitary confinement. So I guess because of that, he is more aware inside of the pod. So even being in a more functional one, the way his mind works and the way he is, his body's gotten so used to it, a broken one, that even a functioning one can't hold him forever without him waking up, you know? Or maybe it's just the fact is, even without his powers, he's mentally grown so strong that it doesn't work on him like that. Either way, he's able to get out of the pod. And we learned a lot of interesting things. Obviously, a little bit more about where they're from. That they're from a war-torn planet. They were refugees escaping that and finding, it turns out there was a stowaway on board. That's why the ship crashed. He ends up referring to himself as a peasant. That's why his pod wasn't as good. So it's not like, there was another alien that pulled Noah away. Because I was thinking like, maybe he's a sibling or something like that. It's like, no, he was kind of a different situation. He was a peasant, which makes me think. Because later on he says, like, I wanted to use you guys as leverage. Like, we're all in this together. I needed you as leverage because they're important. Michael, Isabel, and Max are all important. They have to be like alien royalty or something like that. They have to be like, princess and a princess type of situation. So that's the only thing I can assume for him to be like, I need to use them as leverage, because they wouldn't come rescue him or anyone else, but them being the most important. Like, if I'm closely tied to you guys, if I'm there, if I got to, stuck around you guys, then when the time came when eventually, they came for you, then they'd come for me too. Because probably the aliens from where they are from, their side, because like I said, it's a war-torn planet. Well, they're probably... Well, it could be multiple things. Either it's another alien species that's at war with their people, or it's a civil war on their planet. So it might be a situation of the people that might be... It might have been like a coup type of situation of overthrowing kind of the government, the reigning regime. It might be that type of situation. Rather than government, and probably, I would assume, it could be 100% wrong, but maybe it's more of a monarchy. Either way, I think that's why the siblings have such value to Noah in that regard. And so I'm assuming the stowaway who crashed the ship was on the other side of the Civil War trying to kill everyone. And that's a point I was going to try and make too. Maybe that's why they have never come for them in all these years. In the decades since the ship crashed, no other aliens have come here because they probably think everyone on board the ship is dead. So maybe that's on purpose. Maybe that's by design. Maybe Earth wasn't where they were originally supposed to be going. Maybe they were supposed to go somewhere else until the stowaway crashed the ship. Maybe they were going to blend in with the humans. Hence the fact is they look the way they do. So maybe, because I don't know if this is actually the true forms or not. So maybe they just happen to look like aliens, like in Doctor Who, how Gallifreyans just happen to look like humans. So in that regard, or maybe they have an alien form and they just happen to take on human form because this was where they were supposed to go. But obviously it was probably a much more planned situation of like, we'll get here and look the part. Either way, that's still something we have to figure out. But the sad and twisted thing about Noah's situation is the fact is he's been a part of this situation for a long time. Ever since that creep attacked Isabel all those years ago, Noah's been in her head because her psychic scream that day kind of made him go, wait, I'm not alone. And, you know, lo and behold, he found a back door into her mind, and he's been there the entire time, which makes that whole thing even more twisted, because it's like you literally sought her out. I mean, obviously, we already know you had your ambitions with them, but the fact is you've literally been in her head since she was 14 years old. And even Liz tries to comfort Isabel, but like, you know, but even she's like, I can never imagine going through what you've gone through, being violated in that regard, of like him being inside your head for all these years. And then like the more sick and twisted thing is he becomes a part of your life. He, you know, makes you fall in love with him, because even we know he doesn't love her. You know, he kind of made that clear, but he felt a connection to her, because it's like we're aliens, but also she's, once, like he said, leverage to her. So there's that whole situation. He is dying of, you know, the serum that blocks his power, and now the conversation comes of what do we do with him. You know, at the end of the day, obviously Michael wants answers. Obviously Max just wants him straight up dead because Max is pissed. But then, you know, Liz, at the end of the day, it's like, what do you want to know? And what do you want? And for Isabel, it's like, what helped you with the whole Rosa situation? And for Liz, it's like knowing the truth, and that's what Isabel wanted. But obviously he doesn't want to give any answers about everything until he gets security that he'll be able to survive this. So he won't get answers until he gets the antidote. We do learn that basically every time they kill someone, they get stronger, because essentially they absorb their life force. So Max got a taste of that back in the day when he killed that creep, and even Noah's trying to compare himself to be like, oh, he didn't really know about this until he killed Rosa all those years ago, and that really set things in motion for him of like, oh yeah, and he's subsequently been killing people. That's why he's got stronger. He's so much stronger than them. It's not because he's been using his powers more. It's because he's been getting stronger literally with every person that he's killed, which kind of shows you the dangers of who they are, that if they kill enough people, they can become unstoppable. But he ends up talking about the fact that Max, you probably felt like a god. Not only did you, when you killed that guy, but also when you knocked out the entire power grid for Roswell. What's also messed up too is he tried to justify like why he killed Rosa. It's like, oh, she couldn't be trusted. It's like, and you even had Isabel be like, don't try to blame her. The fact of the matter is she saw you for what you really were, and she wouldn't love you. That's why you killed her. Don't try and, you know, because once again, it's like his mind became warped. Maybe Noah wasn't always this bad guy, but his mind being warped by being awake like that. Like I said, that solitary confinement for decades. Of course, it's enough to kind of drive someone insane, you know? So then you have Liz, who has a connection to Noah because of his handprint, much like what happened with her and Max. That same thing is there, and she feels Noah's fear, and so for her, it's been keeping her up. Because, like, yes, she hates Noah because he's the one that killed Rosa. He's killed all these innocent people, so yes, she hates him, but the fact of the matter is she's scared because she doesn't want to be a killer. If she lets Noah die, that's going to be on her. So Max tried to take that away and being like, if I have the antidote and I don't give him the cure, the killer is going to be me. It's going to be on me. That you don't have to have this on your conscience. Because Isabel wants nothing to do with this. It's like, who needs answers? The fact of the matter is, he can die for all she cares, you know. So, but then kind of combining all that with Michael's side of the story, where he meets up with obviously Kyle and Alex, and they go to Caulfield, and they find the prison, which was supposed to be abandoned. Lo and behold, I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was like, there's no way there's a whole bunch of other aliens. Turns out there super is. The fact is that there's a whole bunch of aliens there. I didn't expect that, because I was under the impression it's only going to be like these select few. I thought maybe Noah, maybe, you know, the siblings, and then maybe another alien that we still kind of getting dissected. I thought that was it, but it's like, no, that ship was carrying a lot of refugees, which makes the whole situation even sadder, because like, obviously the humans killed all of them. It's like, were they necessarily evil or something like that? No, they were something probably unknown. Did they make the first move? Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. We don't know. Because that's the thing. History is written by the victor. So it could have been like, oh, they attacked us. But it's like, no, maybe they just crash landed and they were a threat. So we put an end to them. They try to fight back, which made their fear even more. And that's the sad thing about fear. It just grows and grows, you know. So it's a situation of who knows the truth exactly. But it turns out they didn't kill all the aliens. It seems like they took some prisoners. And Kyle ends up finding out one of the prisoners, it can basically give people cancer, rapid cancer, by touching them. And now it's like, that's how my dad died. My dad died because of these aliens that he was helping experiment on. And these aliens have been here for decades. They've been here for 71 years being tortured and experimented on. And even Kyle's like, you know, he's always learning more stuff about his dad. It's like, maybe my dad's not that bad. Oh, my dad's terrible. Maybe my dad's not that bad. And it's like, no. Like, maybe that's why, like, that particular alien's, like, number kept popping up all over his notes, because maybe because they were trying to weaponize it in some shape or form, or maybe because it was the most deadly, or maybe his dad was trying to do the right thing. Maybe he was trying to free a particular alien. He tried to free that one, but ended up getting touched, ended up getting stopped by other people. And so I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I mean, like I said, he's gone now, so it's not like we can really know what was going through his mind. But where Kyle is right now, it's like, nah, my dad was a terrible person. He got what he deserved because he was a part of all of this. Because no matter what, the fact of the matter is, these were people locked up for decades, you know, and treated like less than human, you know? And that's that sad situation it is. Not even just less than human, just like they are not living beings, like they don't deserve, you know, our sympathy or something. Because it turns out one of the people at the facility ended up being Alex's brother, Flint, which I didn't know he had a brother. It's just the first time that's ever come up. Maybe it came up earlier in the season. I didn't remember. I was like, wait, brother? It's like, you have one? I didn't know that. But obviously, like, Alex and his brother have very different opinions. But Alex even brings up something and being like, Dad manipulates and blackmails people. He's like, the fact is that you're here, what does Dad have on you? You know, and Alex doesn't, Flint doesn't say anything, but it seems like, wait, your dad is blackmailing you into this situation, potentially? That's twisted. I mean, we haven't seen him for a while, but I think eventually all this, especially with the facility blowing up at the end like that, I think it's going to bring him back to town. Especially because Cam is gone. So probably for him, it's like, okay, I'm probably going to have to come handle this situation by myself, you know, when it's all said and done. So Alex might have the confrontation with his dad about all of this. It turns out they're also working on a bioweapon to basically make it so that it can recognize all aliens and wipe them all out, which is so interesting because I guess it's supposed to be future-proof. It's not just supposed to be about the aliens now, because like we only know like these four are the only ones potentially out there. The one other potential alien that Max and them had found out about a couple episodes back, the one that could also heal, she died. Because obviously the whole like constantly healing people thing, obviously it's affecting Max too. Because doing what they're doing is very unnatural. And even Noah's going as far as being like, it's actually freakish that you're doing something like that. But it seems like it's just those four. But, you know, obviously I never would have guessed there was a prison full of aliens. So maybe there are others out there that they're just not aware of. Maybe they're still hiding about in Roswell. Or maybe not. Maybe they are the last ones other than the ones in the prisons. And speaking of the aliens in the prisons, it turns out one of them was Michael's mom. Well, it could be all of their moms. You know, royalty type of situations sometimes, you know, at least, you know, history has shown like obviously like kings might have like more than one wife or something. So maybe it's a situation where it's like they all had different moms, just the same dad. But I'm assuming that was all their moms potentially. That was their mom. I said moms. I pluralized it like that. But who knows? We won't know. Michael only knows because he touched the glass and kind of saw her, and it's like saw her when she was younger, and she, you know, obviously she sees Michael as the little boy all those years ago in the pod. So that's the only thing he got. Obviously he didn't want to leave without her. It's sad that the place had a failsafe like that. If any of them managed to escape, the place is meant to be burned to the ground. And Alex is trying to get Michael to leave. He's like, the fact of the matter is, you are my family. I'm not going to leave without you. And Michael's like, the fact is, I don't love you. Like, we were just kind of, you know, this thing between us, it's non-existent. It doesn't exist. But then Alex is like, you're a miserable liar. So when the time comes, Michael sadly has to leave her behind because she tells him she loves him and tells him to go. So there's that. There's also Cam leaving town. She ends up covering for Max. She does suggest something, though, like Max has to go about this a different way. But for Max, it's like, I don't know how to. Is there a right way to go about this? I have to just let Noah die because, obviously, for what he's done. I want to put him to justice, but, you know, sending him to jail is all it's going to do is going to put him in a position where he could end up exposing us. That, you know, it's like, oh, wait, he's an alien. Wait, there might be other aliens, so there's that. But also, there might not be a prison that can hold him. You'd have to constantly keep sedating him over and over again. Like, there's no facility built to kind of really house him. Maybe that prison at one point in time, they'd have to build something similar to that. But Cam is leaving because her sister getting transferred. She ends up taking a fall because, oh, the gunshots that night. It's like, right. And she covered for Max, and it's like, you know why I covered for you. He's like, I'm sorry I let you on. She's like, you didn't. You told me from the very beginning. You were clear about this whole situation. But for her, it's like, this is the last thing I can do for you. It has to be. And, you know, she says her goodbyes. Which is kind of sad that situations come down to that. But she does leave Max with that thing of, like, is this the right thing to do? And I'm wondering, will we kind of contend with that going forward? Obviously, there's everything with Michael coming back, because especially after the day he had, because he's not going to talk to Max. It's literally what they talked about before. Max was like, the fact is, we don't talk anymore. Like, obviously Michael's super pissed and Noah has all the answers, so he's not willing to talk to Max right now. It's like, I need answers from Noah. He's the only one that knows everything. I'm not going to let more aliens die. So we might see a situation where, you know, you have Michael siding with Noah to a certain extent. I'm sure he's still going to be pissed about you controlling my sister all these years and making her do terrible things. And obviously he does care about humans. He's not going to be killing them all willy-nilly like Noah is. But I am curious to see what that ends up as, because we do have, like, Max drawing his gun on Michael because Michael takes the cure from him. And it's like, all this is happening while a storm is approaching Roswell too. Because it's interesting, because you get that side of things, and you get, like, Alex and Kyle's side of things, where Kyle was like, maybe, you know, they were bad, you know, maybe some of the aliens are dangerous. And it's like, oh yeah, so what about, like, Michael? He's not bad, he's not evil. It's like, well, yeah, Kyle's like, maybe there are exceptions, but, you know, because it's something Alex said I thought was kind of interesting. He was like, you're trying to justify it. I get it. The fact of the matter is, you saw what you saw, that basically your government was torturing and had elderly people locked up, and you're trying to think, like, okay, my government wouldn't do something terrible like that. They'd only do it if it was like a necessary evil or something like that. There is a good reason for it, that they're still the good guys in all of this. It's like, you want to think that obviously your government doesn't do terrible shit. You know, I'm sure everyone wants to think about that, you know, but I mean, people are fallible. They do terrible things. And I think for Alex, especially because of his military history, he's like, the fact of the matter is, you get so used to just following orders, and then you come to realize, like, when you're, you know, watching so much kind of burn around you, you go, I'm the real evil one in this situation. So he has a completely different perspective from this situation. Like I said, Kyle was just getting his perspective because he tried to justify it, but, you know, obviously feeling the way he does about his dad, of like what his dad was up to. Like I said, it was just him trying to rationalize all that he saw, and Alex's perspective was kind of interesting on it. So I am very curious to see where all this takes us going forward into the next episode. Next week's episode is the season finale. I'm curious to see how this is all going to wrap up, what kind of answers they might get from Noah, potentially. That also is determined by what happens between Max and Michael. I doubt it's going to be anything pretty. Things are probably going to get super ugly, and when it's all said and done, I'm curious, is the secret going to come out? Like I said, I get the feeling like Jesse Maines is coming back to town. Whether that'll be the case or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm very interested to see what the season finale has in store for us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.